That's not me. This week on the Dirt Head Shed, I'm getting rid of Louis ViTen. We're going four-wheeling. It's his now.
Good time. I can't wait.
It's looking like a used car lot out here. Something's got to go. Welcome back into the shop. It is time to work on Louis ViTen. This is my 2008 Ford F-250 Super Duty. V10 powered truck, obviously. Anyways, it is time to get a little bit of work done on this thing because it's actually going to a new home. I've got a friend of mine flying into town tomorrow night, and he is going to drive this rig all the way back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we've got a bunch of work we got to do to it, and then hopefully we can get out and go four-wheeling before he takes off and hits the road back home. So let's get this thing up in the air, and we'll explain what I want to try and get finished and see how much we can tackle in a day and a half, and then hopefully we get to go on a rad four-wheeling trip, because that's what it's all about. I know some of you might be bummed that I'm getting rid of this truck. I didn't really have intentions of selling it already, but I just have too many rigs and I kind of need the cash. So it was time to let one go, and this rig is probably the closest to being roadworthy and ready, especially for a guy who's going to try and drive it all the way back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So there's a pile of things that I've really wanted to finish on this thing. And we'll just start digging into that. One more click. All right, we'll definitely be throwing the old green stands under this thing to make it a little more stable. All right, here's the deal. The truck's in the air and we have a list of things to do. So let's get busy. I've got on here skid plate for the steering ram, rear coils and adapters. I want to get rid of those dual coils on here and put a single coil. I need to do some work on the trailing arms. There's a few like it's like a fish plate where the bolt goes through, and some like just some pieces of metal that came with the trailing arm kit and I never installed them. So we're gonna like dig some of that back out, clean it and paint it and weld it. I need to do a little bit of work at the frame side, at the trailing arm mount at the frame. One side got tweaked when I dropped it on a rock, so I want to try and straighten that out and add a little gusset to it. The next thing we got to do is allow for more up travel. And by doing, basically these shocks have more travel than the original ones had. So because they have more up travel, now the track bar hits the frame. So we got to notch the frame for the track bar. And when that gets more travel, then the track bar is also going to hit the diff cover, so I got to put a little bend in it. So we got a bunch of stuff there, and then I want to put bump stops on it so that we can actually like have a little bit of a cushion at the very last bit of suspension travel, so we don't get that harsh like metal on metal bottom out. The other thing I need to do is address some driveline vibration noise that it still has. So I'm hoping, basically we're going to drop the oil in the transfer case and figure out if it's full, if it's got metal in it, if it's making, why it's making noise, and then maybe adjust that pinion angle a little bit so that we can possibly have less driveline vibration. I don't know. I don't even know if that's really the problem, but I feel like I at least have to throw a different gear oil in it and see if we can fix it up. All right. Lower shock mount thingy is off, and now what we need to do is run this. Let me get the camera. The lower shock mount is out. Now what we need to do is run this preload adjuster all the way up to the top so that there's no tension on the springs, and then we can pop the spring out of there. Oh my gosh. After a lot of struggle, I've got it to where the preload adjuster is all the way up. There we go. That's all the way up, and that allows you to pull the lower cap off, and then you can drop the coils off the shock body. Whew. Man, that was a workout. No wonder I waited around forever to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this thing up with some WD-40. Just kind of get some of the sand and road debris off of it. I want to pull the link bars out so that I can do the welding that I want to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and get these out of the way, and then we'll go over to the workbench and mess with them. Let's see if this thing is going to come apart. Things are looking a little crusty under here. I think I drove it one too many times in the winter with junk on the roads. I'm just going to do one bar at a time, that way I don't have to get real creative on how to hold the axle in position while I'm doing this work. This thing's going to let go and be really heavy. Come out of there. Yeah. This is the trailing arm link bar, whichever you want to call it. And this was a kit. This was a kit that came from Rough Stuff Specialties. It's heavy duty 2-inch 250 wall tubing, and then it's got this big heavy duty 1/4-inch plate cap on it. So I was always curious, like, what do they do about keeping water and dirt and junk out of here? And I thought that maybe they didn't have a solution. Well, it turns out in my pile of parts and in the thrash of building this thing, I totally spaced on this part of the kit. They send you plates that actually tuck right in here, and you weld in place, and it caps off some pretty important cavities, basically, where the where this thing would be like holding water. So I'm gonna go in here and add in these plates, and it also has like a fish plate for the outside that kind of strengthens that area where all that stress is from the coilover. So we're gonna go in here and bust out some cleaning and welding and make these things as nice as they're designed to be from Rough Stuff. These things are looking pretty rough, but I feel like they'll clean up just fine and probably look like close to new again here in a couple hours. So I've got my grinder with a little wire brush on it, and we're just gonna start by cleaning these things all the way up. Man, I wonder what I've used on here. It is terrible. Okay, we've got the bar all cleaned up and ready to weld. That was like way easier than I expected. So these little insert pieces, you got two of them, one short and one long. The long one, I assume, goes in the front one because it's got like a little bit more angle, and then the back one is kind of short and steep, so I assume that one goes there. I'll tap that one in with the right tool, and then we'll go ahead and buzz those in place. There it is. I think I'm going to go grab a jack bolt and throw it in here as well, just to try and keep these ears from moving in on me. Grab a wrench and we'll throw a little outward pressure on that. Not much, just enough to keep it from getting weird. Sweet. Those are going to go like that, and then these fish plate pieces here are going to go on the outside like so. I dig it. This piece wants to live right there. All right, see how the old welder's doing today. 1/4" DOM tube and 1/8" plate together. Well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm still on the tube there. Man, I really can't see. That looks good. Spin this thing around and see if I can keep up the momentum. Boom. Call that one a win. That is looking good. Stoked to be getting this little part of the project done. All right, I'm back in the shop trying to pick up where we left off. It looks like I got the bar pretty much ready to go. I need to start painting this thing. I went and grabbed some paint out of the cabinet. We're gonna go with this Seymour primer and paint. We'll paint this thing up and then we'll get the other one going to get it caught up to this level and then move on to the next thing. Hazel's kind of freaking out because there's some thunder and lightning out there today, so she'll probably be sticking by pretty close. All right, let's get this thing buttoned up. I went ahead and started painting this thing. I've just got it over here on jack stands and I got that heat lamp in here still from doing all the Mustang body work. So I'm hoping that that helps cure all this stuff. And by using the right primer and the right paint, that maybe we will have better adhesion this go around. While I'm waiting for that bar to dry, I'm gonna go over here and work on the bracket that it mounts to. Ever since I put this thing together, I've wanted to add a little gusset to kind of give this a little bit more surface area to attach to. It actually does have a little bend in it because I dropped the truck on it really hard on Ultimate Adventure. So I did try and pull it down. I got a little bit of it out, but it's not perfect. And I just want to make sure this thing is ultra strong. So we're going to gusset this, tie it all in here, and hopefully that just kind of distributes the pressures that this suspension bracket has going for it. So I'm going to break out the cardboard and we'll make some pieces and parts and get those welded in. I'll make them for this side as well, and then we'll get back to putting this thing together. Time to get back in the old fabrication groove. This is good. I need to kind of make some other parts, so this will be a good warm-up. Here's those little pieces that I made, and they are gonna live, oh God, they're gonna live right here. Basically just like that. This one needs a little bit of tuning up, and I will be right back. This side has a bunch of paint flaked off of it, so we should be able to get a good ground on it. That's my spot right there. First tack in place. Oh geez. That looks way better. Let's bust this side out. There we go. Check that out. That will definitely help strengthen things up and distribute some load. Cool. I'm going to add one over here, and then we can clean this thing up and repaint it. Now I'm over here on the drill press, and I'm going to make some wobble stoppers for those front Johnny joints or flex joints. And I figured I'd show you my little trick that I'm using. This is a mud flap that I just went and picked up at the tractor store earlier today. And I'm using a hole saw to cut out a circle in it. So a wobble stopper, basically, if you have like a trailing arm and you don't want it to flop over, you typically make a wobble stopper out of like Delrin tubing. All right, so I don't have any Delron that's like 3/8 of an inch thick, which is what I need on this. So we're using this mud flap material, which is a pretty durable product. Let me show you what we ended up with. There we go. Check that out. You'll notice the hole in there is a little over an inch big, and this is the trick. Use 2 hole saws. 2 hole saws. Sometimes you can get a hole saw kit that you can actually like stack the saws on the mandrel. This is one of those. So I was able to drill a 1-inch hole to go around the edge of that flex joint, and then the 2.5 will be kind of the outside of the washer. I'll go show you how this is going to go together. This is the edge of that joint, and in order to stop it from flexing around too much, we'll just go ahead and add that to the outside of it, and then we'll go put it up into the vehicle. There we go. Ha-ha! Just like that. Got the extra gusset on there, fixed up some paint, got some wobble stoppers in it. I even got the extra gussets on the control arm. Feel like we're actually making some progress. That's good. It's Friday morning in the shop, and it's gonna be a busy day. The new owner of Louis ViTen will be here shortly. He flew in from Tulsa, Oklahoma yesterday. He and his brother-in-law came out to drive this thing back to Tulsa. So that's kind of why I've been freaking out as far as making sure this thing is ready to go. There's some things that I don't have time to address, but there's a few things I definitely want to take care of. So I was out here late till like 10 o'clock last night getting these link bars kind of buttoned up and painted. And then I had to run inside and finish up thumbnails because I got a video dropping today at 2. So Fridays at 2. I'm trying to drop videos every Friday at 2 just to try and stay on a schedule. I don't know if anybody notices that, but if you do, I appreciate it. I heard the algorithm likes a schedule, and I've been trying to do at least 1 video a week every Friday at 2. Hit the like and subscribe and all that junk. Anyways, rather than worrying about all that, it's time to worry about this truck. We have a bunch of work to do on it today. I definitely want to get in here and start sorting out like some bump stops in the rear suspension, and probably try and clearance this frame for the track bar a little bit. And then we're gonna get to go 4-wheeling. I don't know if we're going this evening or if we're gonna go tomorrow, but we should get some 4-wheeling in. All right, let's see if we can get this thing jacked up to full compression. We're getting close there. So, right there is where we start having problems. We've got track bar hitting the diff cover, and then with any articulation, we've got track bar hitting over here as well. The shocks, however, still have 3 inches of travel left in them. We need to figure out a bump stop, a bend in the track bar, and a little bit of a notch in this frame. And if we do all those things, we should end up with some rear suspension that has a little bit more travel than it had before and doesn't have an issue with like crashing into parts. This is the one that I really have a problem with. This is a joint where if this breaks because it hits here, the back of the truck can flop side to side. So that is not acceptable. Let's start figuring this out. I want to start first with this track bar. You can see here the truck bar crashes into the diff cover. I want to bend this bar so that it's got about a 2-inch rise right here. Now, I'd gone around in my head multiple different ways of doing this, like possibly overlaying a piece on the side here and like bending around the diff cover. That's still not out of the question, but I think what I need to do is just get it out of the rig and figure it out over on the bench. Come on. There we go. Oh, all right, let's go figure this out. All right, in an attempt to not overcomplicate this, I'm going to cut this at an angle, and then I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to flip it 180, and it should give us the kink that we need, or the bend that we need. So you got to remember when you're cutting not to overdo it, because if I cut this angle right here, by the time I flip that one over and butt it up to it, it's going to double that angle up. Yep, that's good. This thing is really heavy duty. It was like so, right? And straight. Now if I flip this over this way and I get it 180 degrees out, that just gave us about a 2-inch rise in the center, right where we need it. So that should be plenty. Let me go grab my grinder and we'll start prepping this thing. I've got these edges all beveled and looking good. So let's kind of see what kind of clearance we have now. If this was straight before, it looks like now we have 2¼ inches of extra clearance right there in the middle. That is pretty good. That should be more than enough for the amount of travel that this truck's gonna have. We're gonna have to stop the up travel before then anyways. So the other thing I wanna do is figure out a way to gusset this more than just the weld. I wanna like add another gusset, but I don't really wanna like take up a bunch of real estate on the bottom because that would defeat the purpose. So what I'm thinking is like a piece of 1-inch round tube in here, and it should actually stay straight inside of the tube. And then I will be able to get a couple of plug welds in it in a couple locations, and that should really help with like the pulling and pushing forces on this. So I'm gonna go track down some heavy wall 1-inch and then we'll figure this out as we go. So a few months ago I had bought this like 1-inch with a 1/4 inch wall thickness. It's a chromoly tubing, actually really thick heavy duty stuff for making sleeves with. I think I can cut this piece to about 8 inches long. I should be able to shove it inside of this tubing and make everything fit and then still get a good like plug weld in like 4 different locations. So this one doesn't have to be super perfect. Got the holes drilled in here. I went about a 1/2 inch on the holes. You'll probably figure out that one of the downsides to this is going to be the fact that the bar can now flop side to side. So I'll end up having to build a set of those wobble stoppers just like we did on the link bars. And that'll sort of keep this thing vertical or upright. We'll get this slid in place. That one is dialed. We got our tube in place inside everywhere. Let's put another tack on it and see how it looks. Let's burn this thing in. Sometimes it's fun welding this heavy, nice DOM tubing. It definitely takes the heat fine. It doesn't do anything weird. Any track bar with a bend in it's going to be weaker than a straight one. So you typically don't want to have a bend regardless. But if you do have one, I kind of feel like a miter cut is stronger than a bend. Anytime you bend a piece of tubing, it always wants to bend again. Caleb showed up. I don't know if you noticed, but this Caleb was in some of my Moab videos, and his brother-in-law Ryan is with him, and they are the guys that are going to be driving this thing all the way back to Tulsa.
1,700 miles.
I hadn't really mentioned, I don't even know that I mentioned it was getting sold until this morning, but yeah, so these guys flew out. My buddy Matt put them up in the shop apartment and loaned him a truck. And then we're going to get a week's worth of work done today on this thing. And then we're going to try and go four-wheeling. I kind of want to go tonight, but I don't know how much we got to do. There's a bunch of stuff. Like I'm changing coil springs back here, back to a 3-inch spring, so they aren't clunking around.
This is the deadline you like to be.
Yeah, heck yeah. We're going to clearance this track bar so that we're not hitting the diff cover anymore, but that means we're getting more up travel, so we got to notch the frame over here, and then we got to figure out how to space these bump stops down and build some landing pads.
Okay.
So we got a bunch to do.
Just in a little bit of time.
Yep, and I think Ryan's going to be on the old gear oil train. I went and picked up some good stuff yesterday. I can't tell if this thing's always had a gear wine, like a on and off of coast gear wine, and I think what we need to do is get rid of the tractor, store gear oil in the rear end, and throw the good 75 140 in it. And then I don't know if the transfer case, this one was a $100 transfer case I bought off of Matt, and then I rebuilt it when I put the Magnum on it. I want to drop the oil out of this, and I got some Redline MT90, so we'll throw that in there and see. I mean, do what we can do, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind getting rid of the ATF in the Magnum and throwing MT90 in the Magnum as well. All right, we're finding our groove. Ryan's over here painting the track bar that I just welded up. Caleb's over here getting the frame prepped.
Yep.
We're gonna do a big old C-notch in the frame to make room for the track bar at full compression. You can't see that because it's dark in there.
Yep.
So Caleb's getting that ready. I'm gonna cut a section of this 4-inch schedule 40 pipe so that we can figure out how to C-notch this thing and make it look clean. So I'm just gonna cut a little chunk off of this, and then we'll end up coming back and trimming it all up with the plasma cutter.
Yeah.
Like most YouTubers, I'm just waiting for a cold saw sponsorship. I've been using that chop saw since I was like 13 years old. Caleb's getting the frame cleaned up so we can mark it for that half notch. I think this should allow us to get about 2 more inches of up travel, which should be pretty good. At that point, there's going to be other stuff crashing into other stuff. I'm getting ready to mark out this C-notch. This is just like what we would do back in the day on lowered trucks to make more clearance for the chassis or for the axle.
Makes sense.
And I always do the same crap on lifted trucks as I ever did on lowered trucks. It's all the same thing. We'll set this thing in, then we'll mark this so that it looks all awesome. We'll trim it with the plasma cutter, put it all together and weld it up. This thing gets a lot of travel, dude.
I can see that.
If you end up building a flatbed for it or a trail bed,
That's what I'm thinking.
it'll be pretty cool. You'll be able to utilize a bunch more of the travel. The tires just absolutely cram into the wheel wells right now. So we're just gonna kind of make sure that my notch is gonna be in the right spot. You're gonna end up cutting all this off anyways. Like,
yeah, that's,
I fully support you modifying this truck however you want to do it. There's a lot of people that would like be bummed if this thing gets modified and changed. I feel like as long as it gets documented, like these trucks are evolving constantly. So it's like this version of Louis ViTen doesn't have to be the same version next year. Build this 8-foot bed. I wanted to build a 7-foot aluminum flatbed for it.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted it more flatbed looking than trail bed.
Yep.
But with how much up travel it has to have huge wheel wells, which means it looks like a trail bed no matter what. All right, let's chop this frame. All that stuff's out of the way on the inside.
Yeah, I got all that stuff out of the way.
Let's see if this will come out. I'm sure I missed a pretty substantial chunk.
Hey, just you get a bigger hammer, bud. That's perfect.
Sweet.
Set up.
Notch is cleaned and ground. These guys have the chassis all cleaned up. I think it's time to weld this notch in place.
You like it where it's at, Dave?
Yeah, that's kind of my jam.
All right.
18,250 for everything. I kind of think right there.
Give it a lip.
Well, it doesn't even need much of a lip, especially if we're going to weld the backside. That looks good right there. Welding these underside parts, definitely just got to do some tack stacking, otherwise these welds will be growing like crazy. There we go. Now that we're going downhill, we can run bead cleanly. I'm just gonna get a little bit of this inside. It doesn't. The old miller's running good today.
Dude, that thing's crispy.
I am getting this track bar kind of lined up. It has this double adjuster on it, which is kind of cool, to where I can adjust the track bar without having to take everything apart. We're gonna get the bolts in, and then we'll jack this thing up to ride height, and then we'll recenter the rear axle by readjusting this track bar. Right, we got those wobble stoppers, made those earlier today, so we'll cram these in here next to this. That isn't gonna stop the flop 100%, but it's better than nothing. This thing's going together. We're kind of making moves. Track bar's in place, notch is in, more clearance there. We've got new oil in the, you put new goo in the 205.
Mm-hmm.
And
205 Magnum will be done as soon as we get that fluid in there.
this one, I just wanted to save this 140 for the rear axle. When I drained the fluid, it did have a little bit of metallic in it, which frustrates me big time, but pump this up, see if we got any new problems. The next goal was to get bump stops in this, or bump stop landing pads that will kind of keep things happy. Right about here is where this was crashing in. So we did create more up travel, like for real. We got a bunch more up travel.
Oh yeah.
Wow, this is rad.
Dude, it's this close to the finish.
Yeah. Heckin' pre-runner, look at that.
Dude, that's awesome. That looks perfect.
Dude, that's legit.
It's getting all the travel now. If you look up here, we've got like so much, I don't know, the exhaust is right in the right spot, the truss is in the right spot.
It's almost like you built it like
Everything's got its home. It's pretty good.
Look at it from the back.
The goal right now is to do a landing pad for these bump stops. And I actually want to use the bump stops like a bunch. So I don't want to go in here and have it just touching right now. I want it to have already been touching for an inch at this point. That way the bump stops are really doing their job. But we've got our clearance in there in the notch for the track bar. The track bar is not crashing into the diff cover anymore. This is all good to go. It's getting busy now. Caleb's over here welding up some bump stop pads out of some leftover pieces of plate from my YJ. And Ryan's over here trying to dig out this backing plate that I smashed on rocks and kind of wadded it up into the rotor. That seems like it'll probably be about right. You're within the zeros.
Yeah.
Sweet. This thing's actually got some bump stop pads on it. Caleb's burning in these bump stop pads, getting those things dialed. We've got the stock bump stop up top, and then I actually just added a little 1/2 inch of shims under it. Let's throw this side together.
Okay.
We got the other side kind of started.
Then we'll spring it up, and I'm right in the way of the camera.
Yeah. All right, so that'll go there, and that's gonna go there. And then we gotta get that, throw it on the ground.
That's where it needs to be.
Master style.
All right, so that should all come together.
The new paint on the arms.
They were pretty rough looking. Up a little bit.
I know how that works now.
Check that out. Springs are in place, and we got a bunch of preload on them. These were the springs that were in here on Ultimate Adventure on the initial build, but they were on a different coilover. So now we've got like an adapter ring up here and in a different cup. You can see there that cup on the bottom actually keeps it off of the trailing arm, which is like spot on. I had spent a bunch of time sourcing those adapter cups and the raised lowers. I got those from Cartech in California. So we're kind of getting it dialed. Caleb's getting the same amount of preload on either side. Ryan's over here busting out an oil change. I think we're done with it in the air for a minute. We're gonna drop it down and finish the oil change. And then the guys are gonna run into town and grab brake pads for it all around. It needs them. I sure hope that the rear is too high and we actually have to take some preload out of it. Dude, this thing's like a race truck. It's gonna blow your mind driving it. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's actually it's sitting about level. God, it's so cool.
Dude, it looks good, man. Look at that.
Yeah, dude, you're gonna be
That's gonna ride so good.
lap of luxury. Look how much up travel you have from there too. It's like 6 inches of up travel from there.
Dude, it's looking perfect.
Heck yeah. And those shocks are actually, the rears have a good tune in them because those ones are from AccuTune.
Man, look at that.
Yeah,
That's like Baja truck, man.
oh yeah, this is an Oklahoma pre-runner right here.
It is now.
All right, Caleb is torquing it down. I think we're about done in here. We're gonna go for a quick spin around the neighborhood and make sure everything's cool. We'll probably do the paperwork stuff tonight, and then tomorrow we'll go four-wheeling. So once these guys bounce, I gotta drag in one of my rigs so that I'm ready to go tomorrow too. Because nothing's totally ready.
No, never.
Check it out. We're back in the shop. Things are kind of back to sort of normal. Jeep's back on the lift, and the Nissan's back in here. I got the Mazda, just checking fluids on it. We're actually gonna go four-wheeling this morning and kind of go show Caleb and Ryan a little bit about the old North Idaho four-wheeling stuff. So we're gonna hit the road. I got the Mazda actually kind of loaded up, and I gotta go meet the boys down at Matt's shop. All right, we're cruising Old Mas Grande to the trailhead. Caleb and Ryan are in the Louis ViTen back there, and then Matt is back there in the green Ford. So we're just gonna go try and get some sort of mild wheeling in before the boys hit the road back to Oklahoma. Probably not a great idea to go rock crawling right before a 1,700 mile journey, but whatever. Gotta at least show the guys around a little bit. So my camera batteries are not wanting to take a charge. I didn't bring the right cords, and things are going sideways there. So I'm gonna be using the cell phone. So you're gonna have to bear with me on this thing and see if it even has any audio. You can probably only hear my Mickey Thompsons coming down the road right now.
You want me to get you in some, dude?
We made it out here to the trailhead. Everybody's airing down. I am having to rock the old cell phone in order to get some footage. Pretty cool though. The old Mas Grande's looking sweet with the old fisheye lens. Matt's got the green Ford out here. Also looking good with the fisheye lens. Look at that thing. And then Louis ViTen. I don't know if they're airing it down or not. They're over there playing camera guys. Hey, I'm a camera guy too. So what do you think?
This is awesome country. It makes me question why I live in Oklahoma.
It's all right. You're closer to everything being in Oklahoma. We're kind of...
Look at these trees. Look where we're at.
It's amazing.
This is awesome. You don't get this everywhere. This is freaking cool.
So you think the truck's gonna work all right?
Oh, I kind of already know. It's somewhat proven. It's driven all over the place, and you know, every one of these vehicles been on UA, so I think that's another, you know, step in the right direction. They've been proven, so
Heck yeah.
I'm looking forward to owning it for a long time, or
Yeah.
we'll see.
Where are they gonna be able to watch you build more on it?
So my channel is a Caleb's Diesel and Fabrication. It's on Ryan's shirt there. That's my shop.
All right.
You guys can follow me on Instagram at Caleb Morrison and the number 3. It's going to have all kinds of content on there. I'm going to change a few things up. I hope Dave's not mad. But
I ain't
it
mad.
is what it is. We're going to change a few things. I think it'd be for the good. Maybe make a bed for it. We'll see how it goes. Wheel it for a little while like it is and still hit the trails with it and make some full sizes.
Pretty cool.
It's going to be good.
And you had said something about also wanting to purchase it when he loses interest.
When he loses interest, I have first dibs.
All right. You
He's
know,
already mentioned that, I don't know, 3 times, maybe 4 times since we picked it up yesterday.
you know, dibs are kind of it's like more than a contract. So.
Right.
All right, we're dropping into the trail. I'm gonna do my best to get shots of Matt's rig and Louis ViTen. We'll come back out another day and try and get shots of the old Mazda. Ted and I had to go bouncing up the trail to get some shots of the other guys. We were booking it. Little Mazda, basically a race truck. Can't beat the views out here. Matt's green Ford just soaks up all this stuff. Pretty cool. I've never actually watched my truck work. Try and zoom out. Looking good. Trying to drive obstacles and film the guys driving obstacles. It's pretty fun. Dodge branches. What a fun day. I hope these guys are enjoying it. These trails are kind of one of the reasons why I moved up here. It's just super scenic. Putting in work, Caleb. Ted real quick. He's gonna run up ahead and grab some shots. What do you think, Ryan?
I think this is awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
Probably the most beautiful trails I've ever been on.
It's amazing.
Weather's perfect.
Coming up here in the winter and the snow is insane. We got some low-hanging fruit down there with that steering ram. Caleb's got to play it safe.
Yeah, not bad. I'd give a little bump back there. I'm not scared.
I know you're not scared. This is your test drive, though. These logs will get you. They move around like crazy. You got to be really careful even just walking the trail, because those things will move around on you. Pretty cool shot right here of Caleb going up around on the right, Matt driving over logs on the left. That thing is ducking. It's like a trophy truck. Just, you can hear it just trying to take lugs off. Big red truck just creeping through the woods. Pretty fun getting to watch it work. Yeah, look at that truck. That thing is cool. I should get one like that. I should get one like that too.
You had one like that.
I used to have one of those. So I was just freaking out because I didn't think I was getting any audio on any of these clips, and it turned out that my phone was still connected to the Bluetooth radio in there. So every time I was replaying my video, it was trying to like connect to Caleb's new truck. But we got it. We're dialed back in. Look at that truck. All right. This is kind of a cool obstacle on the trail. Gonna have Caleb coming up through it in Louis ViTen first. And then Matt's co-dog Kelly is driving my my Mazda. See if we can get some good shots of this thing working. It's kind of funny, I own the truck, but I have hardly any video or pictures of it. Yeah. Caleb's already scratching the paint off those trailing arms. Heck yeah, dude. Big truck coming through. Yeah, look at that thing work. Love it. Yeah, that thing is stretched out. It is stretched out. I like the truck. The old Mazda coming through. Yeah, you're all right. It'll slip around. It'll go. Nice. What do you think?
My truck.
Pretty fun. Try and zoom out. Heck yeah, looking good, Matt. Dig it. We're getting up towards the top of this trail, and Matt wants to run out and do some kind of big mountain loop. Go up and see some like high mountain pass valley thing. He's got his Onyx maps downloaded. I do not have mine for this area downloaded. So when we get out of this trail system and we go find the other one, I'm going to be relying on him. There we go. That's the shot right there.
There's Roller Coaster, which is a pretty cool trail.
I can't see any of that. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, Roller Coaster. We're going to go up by Roller Coaster.
All right.
And then we're going to go up to Twin Crags is our point that we're going. It's right here.
Sick. Your hair looks really nice today. What's your phone? Not quite as easy as the main fire road, but it's not super four-wheeling. We're still in two-wheel drive. Just some good old off-road. It's a good time. I don't know where Caleb's at either. Caleb, you back there? If I had a radio, I'd call you. Caleb, you got a copy? What a cool campsite this would be. We are way up here. There's still a little bit of snow on the ground. Look at this place. This is rad. So cool. You guys come back and get me in a week, I'll be here. You know you're getting high up on the mountain when the trees get shorter. We're getting pretty close. Like down low, those trees are 100 feet tall. If we get all the way up to alpine level, right before you get there, the trees are really short. It's pretty cool. I assume if we go forward, we're probably either going to run into a fire lookout tower or we'll run into a bunch of radio towers. Matt's up there doing his navigating, and we are actually on Mirror Lake Trail right now. Mirror Lake Trail. We are way the heck up here. That is insane. I wonder what the guys from Oklahoma are thinking right now. They're like, can we just go home, please? That's enough. Pretty awesome. It's definitely doing a number on my fear of heights. I'm not stoked right now. Crazy. We're gonna go up here and check out this old fire lookout tower. We made it to the top. This is some crazy terrain up here. This down here is called Mirror Lake. It's wild. It's an alpine lake basically. I mean, there are trees around, but this whole side over here, man, we were like super exposed, shale, shelf road, sketchy, not happy. That's really weird driving.
That was
Big old trucks up sketchy roads.
You're worried about paint this
it
time.
as wide in
No.
your truck as it was ours.
It was. I think that's it for this Dirt Head Shed. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Caleb, for buying the old Louis ViTen.
Love it, man.
Thanks,
It's a great
Matt,
truck.
for bringing us up here.
You're welcome.
We're just going to get off of this mountain now safely and not die. Ted, don't die.